The KCLR Daily with Brian Redmond. On air, online and on smart speaker. With thanks to Fairgreen Shopping Centre Carlow, helping you step out of the sweatpants and into style. See fairgreen.ie.
It's time to meet this morning's guest on What's the Story.
What's the story on the KCLR Daily? Brought to you by Campion Insurance, celebrating 40 years in business. The local broker you can trust for financial advice, car, van, home, farm and business insurance. Visit campion.com. Campion Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
I asked John Walsh this morning earlier on if he could touch his toes. I still haven't seen him do it, and I did so because our guest on this morning's What's the Story comes to us skipping and hopping all the way from Kilkenny Gymnastics Academy. It's Shannon Doyle. Shannon, great to have you in.
Thanks very much for having me.
Kilkenny Gymnastics Club, we'll talk about that in a moment, because the reason we invite people in is for them to bring us a story of the day, whatever it might have been that caught their attention. So from that perspective, what is it that's caught your eye?
Well, this morning I was watching a video on Hermoves.ie. It's an Instagram page focused on keeping teen girls in sport. And this video was a teen girl and her relationship with sport. She's sending her sport a voice message and going through the love and hate that she has with it. It's about how girls want to continue in sport, but they need the grown-up support, the grown-ups around them, looking after them and helping them to do it. So it's a really good video. I would recommend all parents, coaches, teachers and teens to watch it, because they can see they're not alone. There's other teenage girls who feel this way, and we really need to be listening to them and help them stay in their sports.
So it's a campaign, I suppose, being run by
Hermoves.ie and Sport Ireland.
Talk to me about young women in sport then.
So they have seen that there's a huge dropout in teenage girls in sport. So you're looking at a 50% dropout rate for girls aged 14 to 18 in sport. Whereas boys in sport in post-primary, we reach up to 80% of boys doing community sports. So this means sports outside of school. Whereas this drops to 69% for girls once they enter secondary school. And then by the ages of 14, we're seeing a dropout rate of 50%.
Why do you think that is? I mean, we might naturally go towards puberty as being a reason for it, but I mean, at 15 to 18, most girls, not all of course, but most girls, are well down that track. Excuse the pun. Yeah, well, I feel they feel they're not being supported in it. So things like still having to wear white shorts when they're doing camogie. If they're doing martial arts, the white trousers. For gymnastics, having to wear leotards, these kind of things, they don't feel that this is what they want to wear. This isn't how they want to see themselves. They don't feel confident wearing these kinds of clothes. And one of the statistics when I was looking into this that really, really stuck with me was that 73% of girls identified themselves as being sporty, but they'd still dropped out of sports. So to their core, they are sporty girls. They were probably sporty girls growing up all the way to teen years. But then something happened, something went wrong, and they weren't supported to stay in their sports. So this support that we're talking about, this is all of those small decisions that are made in terms of, uniform colours, for example, the focus that's put on sports in various different clubs. You might see, maybe the lads are the first thing that you see on the website. There's an acknowledgement maybe that there's girls' teams or, sports there for women and young women. It's all of the small decisions. Is that because of the fact that many clubs, not all of course, but many clubs are still chaired by or have committees of men on those panels, and no malice intended, but they just don't understand and therefore make incorrect decisions? Yeah, I think it's everyone who's in sports really wants to keep the teenagers in sports, but maybe the adults, maybe at the male side, aren't thinking it through as much as some of the female coaches and seeing what's needed. We also see that boys are expected to keep going with sports. So when the girls were surveyed by Sport Ireland, and a lot of our teen gymnasts in Kilkenny Gymnastics also took part in this, they found that they were told that they should be prioritising their studies when they got to secondary school. Whereas the boys were still told, oh yeah, he's done a bit of study, he needs to go out and blow off some steam. And he's going down to play soccer now. Whereas the girls
are expected to be a calmer person. They don't need that outlet. And whereas they're telling us they do still want that. They do want to get out there, do their sports. But even for the teachers, a lot of teachers they found in class were saying, the soccer was kept up in junior cert and leaving cert, or the hurling. Whereas the girls, they were told, oh, sure, you should be focusing on your studies. And that's something as well that they felt was unfair.
I am going to put words in people's mouths, but it feels to me like that's only one step away from telling girls when they get to 13 and 14 that, you need to be focusing on home economics, and you need to be learning how to sew, and you need to be learning how to raise children. I mean, I thought we'd come a lot further than that, one step away from that old approach to life. Yeah,
I think it's in the background there. Like, I'm sure no one is intentionally doing this, but the boys are just being pushed on. Keep going with your sports. It's good. It's a good outlet. It'll let you blow off steam, burn off your energy. And that same amount of drive isn't being given to the girls. But they also interestingly found that it was in higher income families that the girls were being pushed to prioritise their studies rather than going to do their sports. And in lower income families then, they felt that no one was supporting them to keep in their sports.
Well, that's the second or third time you've used that phrase. No one was supporting them. Do we as parents, do we as coaches perhaps need to be more aware of these challenges?
Yeah, I think so. As clubs, I think we should be taking these steps. So for us in the gymnastics club, for gymnastics, straight away you think, oh, you have to wear a leotard. So we've stepped away from that. Our teen girls will wear leggings or shorts or tracksuit bottoms, a sports top or a t-shirt, whatever they like to wear. We don't enforce that they have to wear leotards for training, because some of them just don't feel comfortable. And on the competitive side now, the association has moved forward as well, that they're allowed to compete in leotards and shorts. They don't just have to wear leotards. So that is a push forward. But for the girls, the performance side of things, like the stress of being on a team, and as you get older, being more aware that you are, if you make a mistake, what are the other people thinking of you? That you may not be as good as your friends.
Those pressures would apply equally to boys and girls, wouldn't they?
They would, yeah.
Is it just that girls process that pressure? Maybe boys are more selfish or maybe more self-centered. I don't know. So do girls process and deal with that pressure differently? Is it a bigger pressure for young women?
I think so, because for the girls, they are so body conscious as well. So they're thinking when they're out doing their sport, what do I look like? What does everyone else think I look like? How am I actually doing? What's my coach thinking of me? What are my parents? What are my friends? Am I letting these people down? So it's just to allow them to enjoy it more, that they have the support of their friends. A lot of the girls, they go to the sports because they have good friends there as well. And as soon as one starts to leave, it has a knock-on effect. So we really have to try and look after the whole group together. So trying to get them to make group decisions on what do they want their kit to be, what training suits them, do they need more flexible training hours because of homework, about other events, going to the disco, the coaches will say, okay, fine, disco's on Friday night, you can all have training off, we'll do something else for you. And it's trying to be supportive and just bring them in any way we can.
There's always going to be some people, boys or girls, that are so committed to their sport that no matter what happens, whether it's considerations about how they look, whether it's what their friends are doing, the disco is on, well, listen, I'm not going at all because I want to go training, or I'll get there a bit later because I am going training. But they are the minority, really, aren't they? I mean, they're the ones that are so passionate about their sport. It's so much them. But for those whose sports, whose activities are part of their life and a very important part of their life, is that the cohort that we need to focus on?
No, because I think that those children and teenagers, this is their passion. That sport, they're going to come in and they're going to do it. They're going to work on it. They already have a very good relationship with it. It would be the non-high level children and teenagers, I think we need to try to keep in sports.
Yeah.
Children and teenagers should be getting an hour of physical activity a day, and only 5% of teenagers get that.
Yeah.
So we need to try to keep them in sports and active as much as we can.
The actual video itself, as you said, it's on Hermoves.ie. I guarantee you there's people listening to us this morning that are involved in KGA clubs and all of the other sports that are out there that have got boys teams, girls teams, and many of them might not be aware of it. Would you call on them, if they are involved in a club where there are girls present, to check out that video and maybe even share it on their own club's sites?
Yeah, definitely, because it really does give you an insight into the teen girl's mind. And it's quite an overwhelming video of all the things they're trying to process on a daily basis of keeping their friends, their schools, keeping parents happy and doing their sports as well. And something that interesting, like when I'm talking to our gymnasts and especially our teenagers, and even with, our 10 to 12-year-olds, a lot of them come into the gym and they say that they love coming into training because they can forget about everything else.
Yeah.
They're doing their gymnastics or trampolining training, and they don't have to worry about anything else. Whatever happened in school, any fights with parents at home, none of that matters. They are training, they're doing physical activity, they're focusing on their skills, and it's like nothing else matters when they're in the gym.
It's on the mindful approach, really.
Yeah.
I know you're not necessarily pitching it as mindfulness, but if you're running up to a vault, the only thing you're thinking about is that
doing
vault.
That vault. Yeah. There's nothing else to it. And I think, like, I'm coming from the gymnastics side of it. For the girls, there isn't the pressure of what your hair is like or having makeup on, what your clothes are looking like, or your nails done, any of that when you're in the gym, because you're in there to sweat, to work hard. Your hair's a mess, and
it's not about looking your best. It's about being your best and enjoying being your best.
And your teammates, they like everyone has a great attitude. They push each other on, and they're working together for it. So that's what they respect, not necessarily how pretty you are or what your clothes are looking like.
Yeah, my own daughter's only 10. She's does a little bit of gymnastics, but she's very much involved in dance. I love nothing more than going up to collect them and seeing all the sweaty red faces coming out and the hair all over the place and the smiles on all of those faces. I mean, unfortunately, so many people, boys and girls, often spend so much time worrying about how they look and how they appear to their peers. When they're all in the same boat together, it doesn't really make a difference. Tell me about the club itself. Just how many boys and girls have you got up there?
Yeah, so we have 1,200 boys and girls doing gymnastics every week. So we have gymnastics and our newer activity, which is trampolining as well, which has come on phenomenally.
You must have all sorts of experts coming in as trampolines. You remember every second kid in the country had a trampoline now. Though I never saw a trampoline till I was about 20 years of age.
Yeah, well, our trampolines, they are probably about 10 times bouncier than any trampoline you have at home. So any kid that comes onto it, they can't help but smile. Any adult, anyone who bounces on a trampoline, it causes you to smile. Like, they absolutely love it. But for trampolining as well, it's a great one for kids and teens who've never done gymnastics before and are starting a bit later, because it's not as high impact. It's really good fun, and we have like teen only classes in the gym. So we have teenager trampolining classes, so they're only with their own age group, and teenager gymnastics classes, so they can work, they're in with like-minded people who want to come and do sports, who still are teens. They can have the chats, make new friends, but it's about keeping them all there together and trying to create that love of sport. Yeah.
In terms of that group, I think the camaraderie that they have in these activities is equally as important as the physical activity themselves, because sometimes maybe they might have a group of friends at home, they might have a group of friends at school, and they'll have a separate group of friends then in activities. And if any one friends group isn't quite working the way you want it to work, at least you've got those other groups to sort of rely on, I suppose, and to have that camaraderie with. Success of the club, I mean, based up in Killinhill here beside me, I haven't been in. I have been in Killinhill and had a little look through the window and gone, wow, look at that. I mean, it's almost Olympic standard in terms of what you've got up there.
Yeah, it is Olympic standard. We have all of our equipment is Olympic standard. So we have the best facility in the southeast for gymnastics. There's only actually one or two clubs in Ireland that have bigger facility than we do. We've got girls doing gymnastics who have had fantastic results nationally. We have many, many national title holders.
Were you a gymnast yourself?
I was, yeah. I started when I was 5 years old and then just never left. I just loved it.
And what do you think it was within you that kept you going through those challenging years?
Coaching. So I started from the age of 10. I used to sit at the back of the gym and watch the classes happening. And then finally, when I was 14 or so, I used to be able to help out a bit during the classes. And then at 16, I was able to do my coaching course. So at 16, I stopped training, and I would have been the oldest back then doing training. Now we've got girls 17, 18 still training with us. And I moved on to coaching. and then never left. So for me, that was a really vital part to bring back to our teenagers and try to keep them in sport.
And do you think that maybe that's a good challenge, or a good channel, should I say, for those girls who are maybe getting to that age and they're thinking, well, yeah, I've enjoyed competition, I've enjoyed being around the club, you know, maybe next year in 2 years' time I'm going to be gone off to college, and, you know, maybe my competitive career, which is a terrible thing to say about somebody 15, 16, 17, but maybe my competitive career is coming to an end. Do you think we as coaches, we as club facilitators need to put better structures in place to keep those people, boys and girls, in sport through coaching, rather than saying, you know, there's these gap years between 18 and 28 when maybe you'll come back?
Yeah, there is. And we have... We've started a young leader programme for the past, I think we've had it for 3 years now in Kilkenny Gymnastics Academy. So all of our members, boys and girls, once they're 13 and a half, that August, we email everyone and say that they're welcome to apply to our young leader programme. We try to give them life skills as well. So they have to do a CV, send that in to us, and then we go through the CVs and they come in for an interview as well, which some of them find absolutely terrifying. But again, it's a great life skill for them to start with people they kind of know to.
Do you take on a different persona during the interviews to the ones that you would have as a coach?
Yeah, we try to keep it more professional and find out from them, you know, why they want to do this and what's causing them to come back to be a coach. And then after we do our interviews, they get a place in our programme. We do 1 hour of coaching theory a week with them. So they learn all about how to plan for classes, safety protocol, nutrition, all sorts of sides of coaching. And then they do 1 hour practical as well, of where they help support the full-time coaches.
Well, it's a fabulous story to bring us this morning. I'd urge everybody to check it out. Hermoves.ie is the platform where you'll find it. I'm sure it's shareable, and if you've got girls in a club, whatever activity you might be doing, maybe consider sharing that this morning. Our guest on this morning's What's the Story, Sharon Doyle from Kilkenny Gymnastics Academy. Thank you very much for popping into us.
Thank you very much.
What's the Story on the KCLR Daily? Brought to you by Campion Insurance, celebrating 40 years in business. The local broker you can trust for financial advice, car, van, home, farm and business insurance. Visit campion.com. Campion Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. The KCLR Daily with Brian Redmond. On air, online and on smart speaker. With thanks to Fairgreen Shopping Centre Carlow, helping you step out of the sweatpants and into style. See fairgreen.ie.